6 years ago, Liverpool named their youngest ever starting 11 in a League Cup quarter-final against Aston Villa. With Liverpool's first-team squad away in Doha, owing to a scheduling clash between the League Cup and the Club World Cup, the Reds sent a youth team squad to Villa Park. Managed on the day by Neil Critchley, with Jurgen Klopp also away in Qatar, the Liverpool starting 11 that day had an average age of 19 years, 6 months and 3 days, making it the youngest 11 ever to have been named by a top-flight English football club in a competitive fixture. Still unbeaten at that time in the Premier League, during a season in which Liverpool romped to the title with 99 points, whilst they lifted the Club World Cup in Qatar, somewhat unsurprisingly, the young Reds were thrashed 5-0 by newly promoted Aston Villa. Villa heavily rotated themselves, resting the likes of Jack Grealish and John McGinn, but they were still able to field a team of adults, which, always helps. Neil Critchley described his young team as magnificent post-match, and said that he felt many of them had bright futures within the game. Well, 6 years on, they are now all aged between 22 and 28, making them ripe, I hope you'll agree, for an old school HITC Sevens Where Are They Now video, and to see whether he was right. If you disagree, now is the time to exit the train, as I'm afraid that is where we're heading. Right, without further ado, he was 30 at the time and never played for Liverpool, so obviously doesn't feature. Here is Liverpool's youngest ever 11 against Aston Villa in 2019, and where those players are now. Caoimhín Kelleher, Brentford. One of the most senior players in the Liverpool squad, aged 21 at the time, Caoimhín Kelleher made his Liverpool debut in the 2019-20 League Cup, but not in this fixture. An unused substitute in the 2019 Champions League final, which Liverpool won, Kelleher made his senior debut and his first start in the League Cup third round away at MK Dons, where he kept a clean sheet, and he kept his place for Liverpool's fourth round tie with Arsenal, in which he conceded 5 goals, but still managed to be the hero in the penalty shootout. Klopp took Alisson and Adrian to the Club World Cup with him initially, which meant that Kelleher was perhaps the most accomplished player in this Liverpool 11. He conceded 5 goals again, from 7 shots on target, but this time there'd be no shootout redemption. Already highly rated at the time, Kelleher went on to make 67 first-team appearances at Anfield, including in the 2022 and 2024 League Cup finals, both of which Kelleher started in and kept clean sheets in, as Liverpool emerged victorious. Touted at one stage as a future Liverpool number 1, the combination of Georgian international Giorgi Mamadzveli's arrival from Valencia in the summer, who is even younger than him, and the continued presence of Alisson Becker brought an end to Kelleher's time at Anfield over the most recent transfer window. He joined Brentford for a reported £12.5 million fee, rising to £18 million subject to add-ons, as a replacement for departing Dutchman Mark Flecken. Following a bit of a tricky start, Kelleher, who will turn 27 later this month, looks to be growing in confidence with every game in a Brentford team that is once again proving their doubters wrong. Ki-Jana Hoever, Wolves. A friend of the channel who features frequently in visual form, but is less often talked about, Ki-Jana Hoever was also among the most highly regarded youngsters in Liverpool's youngest ever 11 back in 2019. The joint most valuable player in their matchday squad, at least according to Transfermarkt, Hoever made his Liverpool debut in the FA Cup against Wolves the previous season. Signed from Ajax in 2018, as Liverpool saw off competition for his signature from the likes of Chelsea and Man City, Hoover's goal against MK Dons in the League Cup during the previous round that season, aged just 17 years and 8 months, made him the 4th youngest Liverpool goalscorer of all time, trailing only Ben Woodburn, Jordan Rossiter, and Michael Owen. It's not bad going for a fullback. Hoover's Liverpool career would be short-lived, however, see what I did there, only consisting of 4 appearances before Wolves submitted a £9 million bid. The Dutchman felt frustrated at a lack of first-team opportunities, meanwhile Neco Williams had usurped him in terms of providing competition and a rotation option for Trent Alexander-Arnold at right-back. Hoover's move to Wolves hasn't really worked out. He has had 3 loan moves, has failed to nail down a starting berth, and has been fairly uninspiring when he has been given opportunities at Molineux. Now aged 23, maybe yet another head coach is exactly what he needs in order to turn his form around. Maybe. Sepp van den Berg, Brentford. A teammate of Caoimhín Kelleher's in Liverpool's youngest ever 11, and a teammate of his again now at Brentford, Sepp van den Berg was another Michael Edwards special, signed from Dutch outfit PEC Zwolle for just £1.3 million in 2019, rising to a potential £4.4 million, subject to add-ons. Already a Dutch under-19 international with 22 Eredivisie appearances under his belt, aged only 17, van den Berg, also like Kelleher, made his Liverpool debut against MK Dons in the League Cup third round. His first start came in the fourth round 5-5 draw with Arsenal, in which Liverpool won on penalties, making him a fairly nailed-on starter against Villa, just 3 days shy of his 18th birthday. A commanding 6'4" centre-back, who was compared in the Netherlands to Matthijs de Ligt, van den Berg, like his compatriot Keanu Hoover, only ever made 4 senior appearances for the club. Sent out on loan thrice, most notably to Preston North End for 18 months, and to Jurgen Klopp's former club Mainz for a season in the Bundesliga, van den Berg was sold in the summer of 2024 for a reported £20 million fee, rising to £25 million subject to add-ons. An example of Liverpool's excellent wheeling and dealing under Edwards, which helped provide the funds for several of their big-name signings, van den Berg has since become a regular fixture in West London, partnering Nathan Collins in a 12-foot and 8-inch centre-back pairing. Morgan Boys, St Johnstone. The first inclusion in this 11 who isn't currently playing Premier League football, albeit perhaps not for very long in Keanu Hoover's case. Morgan Boys was a graduate of Liverpool's own youth ranks, as opposed to a prospect who was signed by the club in his teens. One of 5 debutants against Aston Villa, this was one of only 2 appearances that Boys ever made in the Liverpool first team. The other came later that season, in the FA Cup, when he was introduced as an injury time substitute against Shrewsbury Town. Boys unfortunately scored an own goal in the 5-0 defeat at Villa Park, before being sent out on loan to Wimbledon. Liverpool recalled Boys from that loan deal after less than 5 months, owing to a lack of game time, and in 2022, he joined Livingston on a free transfer after his Liverpool contract expired. Now aged 24, Boys dropped down to the Scottish Championship with Greenock Morton last season, before joining divisional rival St Johnstone, freshly relegated from the Scottish Premiership, on a free transfer in the summer just gone. Tony Gallagher, Hamilton Academical. 3/5 of Liverpool's youngest ever back 5 from 6 years ago are now playing in the Premier League, meanwhile the remaining 2/5 are both playing in Scotland, outside of the top flight. Tony Gallagher was born in Glasgow, and he made 26 first-team appearances for Falkirk before Liverpool signed him for £200,000 in January 2018. Another debutant against Aston Villa, that proved to be Gallagher's only first-team appearance at Anfield, in which he was tasked with keeping £4 million Villa flop Jota quiet. Gallagher played 10 games on loan at Toronto in Major League Soccer in 2020, in a somewhat unorthodox loan move, before joining Morgan Boys' current club St Johnstone on a permanent basis in January 2022. Following 2 years in Perth, Gallagher joined his current club Hamilton Academical, with whom he was relegated from the 2nd to the 3rd tier of Scottish football last season. Isaac Christie-Davies, free agent. The second oldest player in Liverpool's starting 11 against Aston Villa in 2019, having only recently turned 22 at the time, Isaac Christie-Davies was born in Brighton, but came through the Chelsea and Liverpool youth ranks. Brought to Anfield after Chelsea decided not to offer him a professional contract in 2018, Christie-Davies was another of Liverpool's 5 debutants against Villa, and another who never played another game for the club. He joined Cercle Bruges on loan in January 2020 but never made a competitive appearance for them, before sealing his permanent exit, with a move to Barnsley, in the summer of 2020. A 6'2" central midfielder, who was capped by both England and Wales at youth level, Christie-Davies returned to Belgium with Eupen in 2022, where he made 39 top-flight appearances over the next 2 years, before being released. Following 12 months without a club, Christie-Davies joined the PFA's Summer 2025 training camp in a bid to find a new club. Still currently unattached, if any scouts from League 1 or 2 clubs happen to be watching, what are you waiting for? At least give the lad a trial. Pedro Chirivella, Panathinaikos. With 2 22-year-olds in the middle of the park, central midfield was by far the most experienced part of the pitch for Liverpool against Aston Villa. Well, experience might not be quite the right word, seeing as though Christie-Davies was making his debut, but certainly the oldest. Pedro Chirivella was the oldest player in Liverpool's matchday squad, at 22 years and 7 months of age, and he was handed the captain's armband for the afternoon. Signed by Liverpool from Valencia as a 16-year-old, the Reds reportedly moved Chirivella's family from Spain to England and found accommodation and employment for them so as to convince him to join them instead of Barcelona. It worked, and in the 2015-16 season, as an 18-year-old, Chirivella made 5 first-team appearances. Loan moves to Eredivisie sides Go Ahead Eagles and Willem II followed, before Chirivella was reintegrated by Jurgen Klopp in the 2019-20 campaign. The Villa game was one of 6 senior appearances the Spaniard made that season, albeit none of them came in the Premier League. His Liverpool contract expired in the summer of 2020, and Chirivella joined Ligue 1 side Nantes, where he made 173 appearances, and even won the Coupe de France over the next 5 years. In the summer just gone, a now 28-year-old Chirivella joined Greek giants Panathinaikos for a reported €2 million fee, motivated by a desire to play in Europe. He has since made 16 appearances under former Liverpool boss Rafael Benitez. Harvey Kane, Huddersfield Town. Neil Critchley played a 3-man midfield against Aston Villa, which featured 3 of the 5 players in the entire Liverpool matchday squad who were over the age of 20. 21-year-old Harvey Kane, who is of no relation to either Harry Kane nor Herbie the fictional sentient 1963 Volkswagen Beetle racing car, was nominated for the Golden Boy Award in 2018 while he was on loan in League One with Doncaster Rovers, but he presumably only very narrowly missed out to title-winning Ajax captain Matthijs de Ligt. Kane made his Liverpool debut against MK Dons in that season's League Cup, and the Villa game was his second, and indeed, his last first-team appearance at Anfield. He spent the second half of the season on loan at European giants Hull City, where he was relegated, before joining fellow Yorkshire club Barnsley for a reported £1.25 million fee over the summer. Still in Yorkshire now, but playing in the blue and white of Huddersfield, as opposed to the red of Barnsley, Kane joined the Terriers on a free transfer in 2024. Harvey Elliott, Aston Villa. The youngest player in Liverpool's starting 11 against Aston Villa, and probably the most eye-catching in truth, despite the fact that he was only 16, Harvey Elliott had already become the youngest player ever to play for Fulham, the youngest to have ever played for Liverpool, and the youngest to have played in England's top flight during the Premier League era. That last record has since been broken by Ethan Nwaneri. Liverpool signed Elliott after he let his Fulham contract expire, but they were ordered to pay the Cottagers a record-breaking, potential £4.3 million in compensation. That still looks to have been excellent business, as Elliott joined Aston Villa on loan in the summer, with an obligation to buy for a reported fee of £35 million, following just shy of 150 first-team appearances at Anfield, where Elliott won 6 trophies. A star man for England's under-21s in consecutive Euro successes, Elliott is yet to win a senior cap for the Three Lions in an incredibly competitive position, now aged 22. That might be unlikely to change anytime soon, as Elliott hasn't featured in any of Villa's last 4 games, and there is even talk that there may be a clause in his loan deal which means that if he doesn't play a certain number of matches, Villa won't be obligated to sign him at all. This is an advert brought to you by me. A lot of people stop me in the street and say, "Wow, it's Alfie Potts-Armour. You're the best football YouTuber in the world, and somehow even more handsome in real life than online. Please may I have your autograph, take a photo, and sleep with you?" And I have to say, look, I'm very sorry, that is awfully kind of you, but I do have a girlfriend. The other thing that they often say, I mean, almost always really, is there any way that I can get more of you? Is there perhaps a second channel of yours that I could subscribe to where you make to-camera documentaries about various interesting topics? And I say, yes, it's called the Alfie Potts-Armour YouTube channel, and funnily enough, I just uploaded my latest video there about the Basque derby between Real Sociedad and Athletic Club, the history of Basque sport and culture, and why that game is so unique among major football rivalries. I know, it sounds fascinating, and it is, which is why I am advertising it to you now. No payments were made in exchange for this advert. HITC Sevens and Alfie Potts-Armour are the same person. T's and C's apply. Now back to the video. Lewis Longstaff, Inverness Caledonian Thistle. There is a real fondness for heading north among Liverpool's 2019 team of youngsters, and midfielder come forward Lewis Longstaff is another former Red who has now settled in Scotland. No relation to either Sean or Matty Longstaff, nor Luis Suarez. Why would he be? Longstaff is from the northeast, Darlington to be specific, and he was actually a contemporary of Matty Longstaff's in the Newcastle Academy. He joined Liverpool in 2015 as a 14-year-old, but the League Cup quarter-final defeat at Villa was his only first-team appearance at the club. Following a loan move to Queen's Park in 2021-22, Longstaff made the move to Scotland a permanent one with Cove Rangers in 2022, before joining then-crisis club Inverness Caledonian Thistle in 2023. Relegated in his first season playing in the Highlands, Inverness look to be back in business now following what can only be described as a choppy few years, and they currently lead the Scottish League One table. Longstaff led the line for Liverpool against Villa, playing as a centre-forward at the time, but he has tended to play wide on either the left or right for Cali Thistle, now aged 24. Thomas Hill, Harrogate Town. Aged 18 when Liverpool played Aston Villa, though I seem to recall that he looked about 12, Thomas Hill also made his one and only appearance for Liverpool in that game. The only player in Liverpool's starting 11 who was born on Merseyside, in Formby to be specific, Hill joined Liverpool in 2007 when he was still only 4 years old. Basically, Hill had just learnt to walk and Rafa Benitez stuck a contract in front of him. Presumably. In September 2020, he suffered a devastating ACL injury. Liverpool responded with a show of faith, handing him a 5-year deal, but an elusive second game for the club would never come. Signed by League Two Harrogate Town in the summer, Hill has made 5 appearances so far this season, suffering another injury setback at the beginning of the campaign. So that was Liverpool's youngest ever starting 11, but what about the bench? Well, goalkeeper Ben Winterbottom, not to be confused with Ben Woodburn, now plays for League Two Barrow. Meanwhile, Ben Woodburn plays for divisional rival Salford City. Fullback Tom Clayton last played for Swindon Town, also in League Two over a year ago, and is reported to have retired from football and rejoined Liverpool as their under-16s assistant, still aged only 25. Left-back James Norris is the only player from this squad who is still contracted to Liverpool, though he has only ever played 2 games for them, and is currently on loan with Shelburne in the League of Ireland, aged 22. Midfielder Leighton Clarkson is yet another who has settled in Scotland, having spent the last 3 years starring for Aberdeen. Fellow midfielder Elijah Dixon-Bonner is currently on loan at Morecambe in the National League, from his parent club Queen's Park Rangers in the Championship. 24-year-old wide man Jack Byrne now plays for semi-professional Oxford City in the National League North. And finally, 23-year-old forward Leighton Stewart recently joined Swiss Super League side FC Thun, having won promotion from the Swiss Challenge League on loan there last season. Elsewhere, Neil Critchley is currently without a club, having failed to turn his sky-high reputation as a development coach into success within the senior game, enjoying success, it must be said, with Blackpool, but since having been sacked by QPR, Blackpool again, and Hearts, in 3 short-lived stints for the 47-year-old. Jurgen Klopp now works full-time for the Red Bull Cinematic Universe, though of course, he wasn't involved that day, as he was preparing his team for a 2019 FIFA Club World Cup semi-final against Monterrey in Doha. That is it for today's video, but thank you all very much as ever for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if that was the case, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and of course, make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on, not just for this channel, HITC Sevens, but also my second or sister channel, Alfie Potts Armour, both of which should be about to appear on your screens now, along with a couple of videos that you might enjoy watching after this one. You can also find me on various social media platforms, as Rihanna has done, of course, via the username at HITC Sevens on most of them. And you can now support me additionally, which Rihanna hasn't done as of yet, by becoming a channel member, either via the Alfie Potts Armour YouTube channel, or even better still, via buymeacoffee.com/Alfie Potts Armour, where you can do the same thing, but Google won't take almost a third of it. Thank you all, as I say, I hope to see you very shortly. Until then, take care out there. I love you all. Cheers.